Everybody knows what's supposed to happen from the time that somebody walks through the door. If bringing in, a bunch of new people into your gym at once causes you stress, that's because you don't have your proctor systems in place.
With so many clients and so many personalities and so many life things that come at people, like our business is completely different than anything else. I always took pride in knowing that when issues would come up, knowing that issues not only solved, but solved satisfactory to the client. When fires got put out without me knowing about it, those were the best moments.
Reoccurring problems need reoccurring solutions. Problems that come up over and over again, to me, that sounds like hell. You're just gonna deal with this over and over and over again for the rest of the time until a system gets introduced, and then you can finally step out of it and not live in that rat race, right? So that's why we're making a whole episode on this. Like, we don't want you guys to be on this Groundhog Day or never feel like you have any help. It does come down to your leadership.
This is the Reinforce Your Gym podcast with your host, Dustin Vogel. This show is about arming gym owners with the tools, strategies, and lessons they need to take their business to the next level. That way, they can make a greater impact in their community. Now, let's get to work and reinforce your gym.
Welcome, gym owners. We got an awesome episode for you guys today. I'm joined by my co-host, so we're going to have an amazing conversation all around an important topic, and that is systems. So if you are weak in this place, this is the episode that you want to listen to, because we're going to give you some great ideas on how to fix this once and for all, and it's going to be super simple. But before we get into the episode, I do want to call out our new company give back program at Gym Reinforcement. So, we want to give back to the fitness industry. And all three of us, Jason, Kim, myself, being gym owners, we know when money is cash strapped the most, and that is at the grand opening stage, right? You're buying equipment, you're paying contractors, it just feels like your bank account's being drained endlessly. So we don't want to add to it. And what we're doing to give back to the industry is we're actually giving away a free month of digital marketing services, so we can fill up your database with lots of leads, whether you're going to sell a grand opening challenge or a grand opening founders membership. We want to load up your database with a ton of leads, and there's literally no cost. Like, we're not charging our marketing service fee. Yes, you'd have to pay Facebook ad spend, but that's a small part of the value you're going to get, back in terms of those grand opening numbers. And we're going to run my playbook that, again, lots of gym owners have used. We've opened every location with 150 to 200 members. So you guys will literally run that same offer playbook, and we'll get your grand opening off and running. So if that's something you're interested in, just go to gymreinforcements.com, book a call, and say you heard about the grand opening program and that you're opening a gym. And this could either be you're opening your first or you're opening an additional. It applies to either situation, just any new gym opening. We want to help you out with that exciting phase in your business. So that's that. All right. Well, we will get into today's topic, and this kind of goes with opening a gym, is systems. Like, if you could go back to when you opened a gym and you had zero systems, how much better would life be if you had them? And I see this with multi-location owners that, like, location one, it was just like hot mess, figure it out while we go. And then location two, there's a little bit more systems and structure, and it has a smoother opening because of that. That's what we want to talk about today. It's something that I call the scaling trap. So what this means is we scale too fast prematurely, and we don't have the systems to sustain that growth, and it all comes crumbling down like a house of cards, right? So times that I've seen this is opening a location prematurely, you have no systems, and now suddenly the owner's going to be split over two, or they're scaling themselves out. They're trying to get a manager in. The manager's like, I'm happy to do the work, but I don't have any systems to follow, so I'm going to call you for every single problem. Or maybe there's just not non-repeatable type of processes, meaning if I'll do it one way, Jason will do it another, Kim will do it another, all at the same gym, because we all haven't been trained. We're all not following the same system, so we're getting inconsistent results. These are all classic examples that I've gone through, so I'm not pointing the finger at anybody. I've done all those mistakes, and so we just want to not have you do that. We don't want you to go through that same pain. We're trying to be your guides and say, like, watch out for that mine. Don't step on that trap. Let us kind of get you there safer and with less pain. So that's kind of, what we're here to do, is talk really about the scaling trap and how to avoid it. So Kim, when you're thinking systems, like, again, how do you think about them? How have they affected your business? And how do you frame them to gym owners too?
So this is one of my favorite topics. The way that my brain works, it's very pattern oriented, and systems are basically patterns that you write down and purposely repeat. So systems, they help create consistency. And I think that's the biggest thing. For me, one of my favorite things about systems is the first client experience. And that's what you want to think about. Like when people walk through the door, it's a good example of creating consistency so that everybody who walks through the door tries out your program for the first time, they have the same consistent experience. Because then they're going to go tell their friends that this is the experience they had. What was your workout like? What did you do with them when they joined? Did you put them on an InBody? Did you take their measurements? Whatever your system is, make sure that everybody is getting that same one, because then they're going to tell their friends about it. And what if they then send their friend and the friend's like, man, they didn't do any of that stuff with me. It's you don't want that to happen, right? And I'm sure we've seen that happen before. Like you said, if you don't have your systems written down, maybe you do it that way. But if you're not there and your team members don't know, then that's creating an inconsistent experience for your clients. And that's kind of the first thing. You definitely want that consistent experience. That's like for me, step number one.
And that's why I think a lot of owners fails. Like they do all these extra touches, but because they don't train those extra touches the team, they live in this world of frustration. But the finger goes back to you, unfortunately, gym owner, because you're leaving the systems up in your head. And where you can hold people accountable finally is you have it in writing, a video. We'll get into different formats to do it, but essentially like that's the gap that you got to cross. You got to get it out of your head and into a document, and then train your team and hold them accountable to it. And then everyone's doing the little extra touches, and now you have this amazing client experience, to your point. Jason, how about for you, man? Like, what about the way you look at systems or coach owners around systems?
Yeah, I think one of the systems we have to have in place a lot of times, because I love the term premature, because sometimes we get that first location, it's rocking and rolling, we see revenue and we're like, oh my gosh, we can do this again. And I've seen so many owners fall in the trap. And some advice I got early on when you thought about getting into that multi-location brain before you do that is look at that one location that's up and running. Are we squeezing all the revenue possible out of that location? What else can we do to make that location generate more revenue before we even waste any brain cells on a second location? So this is like a boot camp model gym, for example. You're only running 3 sessions in the morning, 3 sessions in the afternoon, and they're like, okay, let's go do another gym. But to me, that facility is not at its peak operating capacity yet. It could be doing more. You could be doing more sessions. You could be doing noontime. You could be adding PT, small group PT. So there's so many other avenues that you can use within that gym before you even start scaling to a second or third location. Is that one location that's rocking and rolling? I'm sure we'll cover this at a later point here today, but it's probably rocking and rolling because of you. You're in it. You're grinding every single day. You are the product, and people are buying you. And take advantage of that and scale and grow that current location as much as you can. What can you add? How much more revenue can you get at location before you even look at the second one? And I think there again, when we scaled to our second location, I was very proud of the fact that we literally pay for the second location from the revenue of the first. We got to the point where we've had revenue that could literally fund the second location. So we weren't getting loans and not, trying to do build out cost second locations. Is we took time. I learned this a long time. We took time to figure out how much more revenue can we generate out of that first location. When you feel it's maxed out, all that juice is squeezed, it's running, then you can only get in that second location frame of mind. So that's why I wanted to start my thoughts on this podcast episode was, before you get second location, what more can you do in your current location, your first location, to max it out completely?
Yeah. Because every decision you make around scaling is going to stress test your systems. Like if you added 100 more members, your systems might all come breaking down because you wrote them for your current level of members, right? So 200, did you write them for your future version of you for 300, or did you write them for 200 members, right? Then adding more locations, that is a whole nother system. Like throw your systems out the window. You have 2 of them now, and you got to start like designing them for that. Or, you install a manager and you pull yourself out. The owner doing it one way might not be able to be matched by the manager because you're doing different amount of hours. They have to clock in and clock out for 8 hours, where the owner's doing 12. So you're like, well, I did all this in a day. Yeah, but your team member, you can't pay them that, and they're going to burn out. So it is like going into it with the right mindset of like, what is the business today? And then I am going to need to make edits to these as we grow. Like the different systems are going to develop. So we'll get into these things. So first, when you're building a system, we said it earlier, you want them to be simple and standardized. You don't want them to be complex and custom, right? So if it's simple and standardized, me, Kim, and Jason all do the same pitch when we pitch auto enroll, or when we run the first session a client has. Everyone gets the same experience, like Kim was saying, all in their day one. That means I made something simple that's teachable, everybody can do it, and it's standardized, meaning it's being followed by everybody. Because it just because you capture a simple system, but then everyone's rogue, you didn't check that box. So we need both of those. I need to write it simply, and I need to standardize it, which means everyone's following it. The opposite is complex and custom, which means there's like a lot of if this then that, kind of branches in the system. Like if this happens, do that, and if that happens, do that, and like an owner can balance all that stuff, but a team member would get overwhelmed, right? And it's too complex, or you have too many offers. We got month to month, 3 months, 6, 12. You can do a 12 pack. You can, do a punch card. Oh my God, only the owner can sell forever because they made such a complex system with so many offers and prices. Then there's the custom standpoint, which means the owner would literally change their business model just to make more money. Like someone walks in off the street and says, "Will you train my son for sports?" They're literally doing a custom job. They might be a transformation center for middle-aged people, but they say, "Yes, I'll do custom work." Not I'm standardizing it and saying no to the wrong customers and yes to the right ones. I'm literally doing anything for anybody. So that's how we want to start with looking at systems, is like the most successful brands you can think of standardized, very simple processes that they can scale across the nation to any level of worker. And that's what allowed them to grow, right? So you got to do it that way. And in terms of like capturing it, we're all different. And I'm curious to hear how you guys do your systems. Some of them could be written, which could be a simple checklist, and it could be two versions of a checklist. It could be a Word doc that's stored in the cloud, or it could be a physical checklist literally at your gym that your coaches are marking off, right? So like that is like a document, if you will. Then there's Loom. Loom I think about, or Zoom or video recording. I need to show you things in a software, right? I need to show you how to get into my CRM and add a membership, freeze a membership, how to text a client. If I write that, it's going to be very cumbersome and actually take longer than if I just had a video, right? And then there's audio, right? You could always just have your phone and you can talk into it. If you don't like cameras, you can just talk into your phone and make audio logs of how to do things, right? So these are all different ways that you can document things. And the goal is to make it very simple, not go on tangents, not go and elaborate too much, make it consumable where someone can get to the point really quick and just be brief and to the point. That's really what makes a good, simple system. So, Kim, I'm curious, how do you document them? Like, how do you capture systems in your business?
So, kind of going off of what you said first, things will evolve as your business evolves. So, in the beginning, there was two of us. We didn't have everything written down because we both knew, we both practiced it together. And as the team grew, now I have 6 coaches plus myself. You have to alter how you put things down. So, we use like Google, so Google Docs and Google Sheets, and we always had everything in Google Docs. I have even though, I have coaches who are like in their 20s and 30s, everybody's very tactile, so they like to see things written down. Like we still have notebooks, we still have binders. So we have Google Docs, we have things in binders, at the front desk. And now again, as it's growing, what we'll do is when I want to review a system or revise the system or just remind everybody of what the system is, we'll do a team meeting and I'll have my Zoom open. I do kind of what we do in GR. We go through the document together, we go through the process together, and we record it. And then, I send everybody the recording afterwards. And then again, that is going to evolve into Loom. I haven't really gotten into Loom yet for my systems, but I love the idea. And I think we're kind of getting to that next level. So right now it's like Google Docs, physical copies, we review them together. My team meetings, we have 2 team meetings a month, and one of them is like information review, what's going on in the gym, policies, procedures, stuff like that. And then we have a workshop where we will do like mock plays on things, whether it's something to do with coaching or a session or the first client experience, which is what we did yesterday. We reviewed in our team meeting, and we actually do like mocks. Everybody has to go through it. Somebody pretends to be the client walking in. So it's a little combination of everything, depending on the team, depending on what stage your business is in, and what the system is that you're reviewing. So
Yes,
yeah.
love that. And that's an important point, which again, we'll probably revisit as we continue going on. So first it's capture, then it's train, and then it's retrain because your team forgets things, little small things get missed over time. And a great excuse is always when a new coach is coming on board. Like, hey guys, I'm training this coach. So I figured we should all retrain on it. And that helps. Jason, how about for you, man? How do you capture systems? Where do you store them? How do you distribute them to your team? Like, kind of talk on that.
Yeah, I think the first thing too, if you're the owner, it's you and your spouse, like you said, like Kim said, it's two of you, you're in the trenches, you're working, is spend time when you know you're bringing a manager on board, you know you're going to be hiring staff. Is this document your day? Is spend some time and document things that you do during the day because there's so many nuances that you do it without even thinking about it. It's like, how do you drive your car home without thinking about it? Same thing within your business. There's things you do and you don't even realize it. So make sure that when you're ready to take that step, you start taking that mental inventory of things you do during the day. And that's what we had to do when I got in the second location was I had to stop, be like, okay, I got to stop. I have to document what I'm doing here. Like I'm going to go into the next month's invoice and deduct that 50% for a referral bonus. I can do it in like 5 seconds with 3 clicks. But at the same time, I'm like, oh my gosh, if my coach had to do that or my admin had to do that, how would they even do it? They'd be searching and trying to get help articles and things like that. So that's what I started doing was just keeping a really checklist off to the side of the computer. And I would come across maybe 3, 4, 5 items in a day. I'm like, okay, I'm going to stop. I'm going to make 3 loons, explain these things and put them all on Google Docs. So now when my team have a question, they're like, oh my gosh, how do I edit a future invoice? They would open that up, edit a future invoice. I'd have that video link and they could watch a 20-second video, how I edit a future invoice in this example. And so this way they had a resource that was quick for them. So this way there was no frustration. They weren't bothering me. I wasn't getting that weird call at 7:30 in the evening trying to fix someone's bill, like that too, was just document your days. Because people like admins and managers, they're probably a little more techy, a little more hands-on. They're better to get in the computer. But like Kim mentioned, we talking about like staff on the floor. I always found the coaches there, they're much more into like a paper checklist or a erasable whiteboard type of checklist where they could edit initial if they clean the bathrooms and things like that too. So checklist at a glance generally is really good way to have standard, SOPs on the floor for active coaches who are moving and engaging with clients. They're not going to stop, open a computer up and log a cleaning schedule and stuff like that. We want that on the back of the door somewhere, break room, things like that too. So think of your SOPs are going to be the most functional, the most accessible for your staff. So this way you get the best adherence for those SOPs. So make sure it's easy to follow by all. The term we always use in our teams was tribal knowledge. We want to make sure that everything around the facility was tribal knowledge. So everybody, so it's not just locked in the owner's head. It's not just locked in the GM's head. It's common around that. Like Kim said, sharing it in those team meetings. Do spot checks, spot quizzes, make it fun, and say, hey, if X, Y happens, what happens, team? And sometimes you might not get a reply, and you're like, oh, we better make something happen here, So you might get that oh shit factor, like, oh my gosh, we better fix this. But you want to see hand raises, you want to make sure everyone has that tribal knowledge. So have fun and spot check your systems within your team. Make it gamify in your team meetings. Don't make it authoritarian, but gamify, have fun, ask someone if they know what happens at the end of the day. What's the procedure for initialing the cleaning thing? Stuff like that.
Hey guys, just taking a quick break to ask for one thing. If you can give us a 5-star review, it'd mean the world to me. It helps get me feedback on what you're enjoying about the show and how we're adding value to your business. And it helps us get the word out so we can turn the tide on this war against obesity. So give us a 5-star review and let's get back to the show. Yeah, such a good point, because I do find you kind of have a balance of both worlds. Your coaches are very tangible. They do better. That's why they like whiteboards and clipboards and filing systems. Like I had coaches require, ask me to get a filing cabinet. I was like, what, are you living in the 80s? But like I had to put myself in their shoes. Like their world is physical. And then my more administrative or sales staff, they just live on their laptop. They're digital all day. So I have a sales rep, a VA, a manager, like they all wanted everything in digital. And I found that like because majority of the team lean digital, I tended to make everything digital. And then the coaches started to drop the ball and we had to get things back into their hands, tangible. And that's definitely a lesson I learned. So I'm glad you're making it. It's funny you bring that up, the spot checks, because we actually did a game once at a team training where I put everyone outside the gym and I went in and I messed things up. I took the toilet paper down to the cardboard and I put a sweater in the middle of the floor and I unplugged the iPad so it's not getting juicy. Like all these little things that, like irk us, that were like, well, they left the iPad unplugged and they didn't replace the toilet paper. So then I was just like, I'm giving you 2 minutes, stress test, run in the gym with your teammates. And so again, we had 6 gyms. So each gym would go in as a team and they had to scramble and find them. Like there's 7 things that are not supposed to be the way they are, go in and help it. And for me, it was good eyes on which teams have attention to detail and which failed miserably. And what do you know? The teams that failed that test tended to have the worst culture and worst EFT, and the teams that caught it the fastest had the highest culture and highest EFT. And so, again, it was a good two-way training. It was for me, where am I lacking as a leader and I need to spend more time with that team, or, get better people. And then like for them, what are they missing so that they can have that aha, right? All right, we're going to proceed with what we think people need to start with. This is all good information, guys. You're talking about capturing systems, but which one should I start with? Because there's so much. Like, that's where the overwhelm begins. Oh my God, I have zero. Like, I have literally zero SOPs, standard operating procedures. Where should I even begin? And so the answer is capture the ones that are like critical to the business success. That, like, God forbid you go down and you're on life support, which ones would need to be captured so that the business continued to survive, right? And so we kind of made a list here. So if I missed any, obviously Kim, Jason, jump in. Sales process, from getting a lead to closing them, obviously critical. That brings money into the business. Client onboarding and their day one experience. I would even say there's a pre and a post. What happens before they start and they get into the gym, and then what happens the day they walk in. What's that day one look like? What is that client experience? Capture that and make it standardized and simple. Coach interviewing and training. What are your red flags you're looking for? Like, again, an owner tends to know in their head, I want to hire someone because of this reason or that reason, but they don't write it down. So, like, what are your criteria that's a red flag and a green flag that you would green light a candidate, right? So, like, your interviewing process. And then when you hire that coach, your training process that you push them through, right? To get them developed as a coach. The fourth would be day-to-day operations, just simple things. Open the gym, close the gym. Where do you guys buy your supplies? Do you get on Amazon? Do you go down to the corner store? And then who do you call for maintenance? Like, who's our plumber on, demand, and our guy to fix fitness equipment? Just basic things like that. And the last one would just be like financial tracking, getting your P&L populated, your just metrics, your KPIs being populated, who puts those on the spreadsheet. It's only 5 systems, but I would say you're probably pretty safe if those 5 systems are documented, right? You got sales dialed in, you got your clients day one, you got your coaches interview and training, you got day-to-day operations, and then you got financial tracking, right? You could throw marketing on there, but that's probably the easiest one to go get help. You can go get an agency. You don't have to have someone in-house trained on that. And that's the only reason I didn't put that on the list, because that's probably gonna be the hardest to train to your team and sit down and show them how to load a Facebook ad and do all that, right? So it's like, these are things the team in-house can own and keep things chugging along just fine. Uh, Kim, anything you would add on that list?
So I would have two: an emergency system, like what happens if somebody hurts themselves in the gym. That's definitely a system to
Incident
have.
reports, things like
Right,
that.
incident reports, exactly. And then the other one was like just kind of basic policies and procedures. What's your cancellation? What's your freeze? What are the like house rules during sessions, things like that.
Yeah, and then emergencies also, like the power goes out, crazy weather you get, all those types of things. So those are good ones to add. Jason, how about for you, man? Anything else you'd add on here?
Yeah, my thought on when we talk about this section here is, I know on our podcast here, like, we cover so much, and I think the big thing, if you're listening to this right now as a gym owner, you're like, oh my gosh, I don't even have any SOPs documented. So that, I think, at this section here is like the stop and just do a little gut check. Do you have anything done? Maybe you're like, oh my gosh, I don't have any. So don't try to cover everything like we're talking about here, because there's 100 years of gym owner experience on this podcast right here. So, like, we're thinking, start with the low hanging fruit. Like, what's the easiest thing? I would say, if Jim Moore came to me and said, where do I start my first SOP? I would say start with the SOPs that generate revenue, which is the first thing that Dustin, you talked about, the sales process from lead to close. Get that standard on first. So this way, as you bring on a GM or a salesperson, you have your standards, you have your sales process. Like, how do we get the lead? How do we bring them in a trial? What day do we meet with them? When do we do their scans? When do we do membership agreements? Like, have that documented. Have the revenue generated SOPs of your business done first, because revenue is everything, right? So, I mean, that's the most important part. And then once you have that down, obviously, you can start expanding into things we talked about: client onboarding, coaching interview, things like that. All necessary SOPs, but if you have none right now, I would definitely start with revenue things, because typically a gym owner would be like, yeah, everyone here knows. A lot of times I'm like, I'll call the BS here. I'm like, show me the doc, show me the SOP. I'm like, oh, we don't have anything written. It's just we all know it. Well, how did that happen? Like, how did you do that? Or did it just magically fall from the sky? Like, how did you train everybody? So you want to make sure like you have that documented. So this section here, like if you have any, you're missing some, start doing the inventory of where you need those to start, because we could spend the next 4 hours talking about additional SOPs that you need. But right now, if you have any, think of like what's going to generate money. I want everyone to know how to generate revenue for the facility. Start with those SOPs. Start small, one bite at a time, get the elephant down. So that's what we got to start with.
Oh, love it. All right. Well, again, we've shared ways you can do it. Obviously, you can type it up on Word doc. You can record a Loom. Those, like, again, I would say think about who you're writing it for. I think that was the big takeaway I got from what you said, Jason. Like, am I writing this for a coach? How are they going to get this physically in their hand? Am I writing this for an online team member? Where are we going to store this, in a Google Drive or a online cloud place? The hack I would give everyone, they're like, I don't know how to get started. I'm stumped. You guys have no excuse. We have this beautiful thing called ChatGPT, right? Like, go to it and say, I own so and so gym. Could even prompt it with your website. You could say, here's my website, scrub it and learn about my brand. And then write me our sales process and just give it a little bit of general information. Cause even with no guidance, it's going to write you something pretty nice. But like, we know that the two main models that exist, it's the trial to membership or it's the direct to membership, right? It's like, first, you're going to buy a trial, and then if you love it, you're going to come on board as a member, or we're going to meet with you one-on-one, and you're just going right into membership, which tends to be like small group PT, and trial tends to be like big box or large group kind of boot camp training. So like either one works, but like that's what you can feed ChatGPT. Our model is this. This is how we do things. And just like the more you give it, the better it'll give back to you. If you just write generally, I own a gym, write me a sales process, it'll be okay. But like the more you can customize it to you and your brand, the better it can serve you. So like that's your answer, guys. You can take that whole list. You can get these SOPs done this afternoon if you lock in, no distractions, and you just have a little day date with ChatGPT, right? That is it. What I also find is sometimes it can get a little wordy. So then you can also coach it around length. You can say, make this a little bit more concise. This was a little long, make it shorter, make this just very brief bullet points. And you can coach it. And eventually it learns your style of how you like things written. And then it starts really cranking out some magic. So again, guys, utilize this. This is powerful stuff we all wish we had back when we started. Like, I think back about the hours I've spent looming things, writing things that could be compressed into probably 1/3 of the time because of this wonderful tool. So use it, right? It's a great thing. All right. So we're gonna kind of move on to what we would suggest, we're kind of getting into it already, is like this ladder of systems you can climb, right? Like from zero all the way to like super systemized, like franchise level systemization, a franchise that has systems at least. So we'll say this: zero is opening your gym. You have nothing, right? You're literally just making it up on the fly. Everyone is running a system, but it's basically their own system that they're making up. Maybe a lot of times new gyms, they didn't train their team properly. They just find someone that's got a cert. You're good enough, come in. We start Monday, right? And it's just, there's been no training. So everyone's doing their own thing. Eventually there becomes a friction point where you find all the trainers are doing their own style and I need to get everybody aligned here, right? And that's that first friction point. And you say, okay, we got to come up with our way and we all have to link arms and agree to it. And so that's where the first discussion usually happens. So at that point, that's where I'd say follow Jason's advice. Like, you need to capture your sales process is priority one, and then your coaching process is probably right behind it in terms of number two, since that's your product. That's what you're actually selling people, is your coaching. Those are, I would say, top two. Knock those out, and those are critical. But eventually one day we all dream about this, right? Like a lot of gym owners, of being a semi-absentee owner or a full absentee owner, right? And so semi-absentee, I say you live still at the gym, you're still like involved, maybe you run marketing, maybe you run the leadership meetings, you're still involved in the day-to-day. So you're just maybe not needed for any selling and you're not needed for any coaching. That would be like semi-absentee, right? Completely absentee would be like you own the gym and you're out of state, or you still live there and you just haven't been there in weeks or months, right? Like you're completely an absentee owner. So these are things that some owners dream to get to and some don't, right? I actually just had a call with an owner yesterday who they got to the level where they were able to get out of coaching, and 3 weeks went by and they were miserable and they were irritated and they were unhappy. and they were sold this dream that that's what you're supposed to do because that's what the gurus say you do. And then they scheduled themselves back in to amount that they wanted to do. I think it was like 15 hours a week, and they loved their business again, right? So like, don't ever feel bullied or pressured to like get out of coaching if that's what you love, right? Like, that's all we're put on earth to do, is to do what we love, add value, help other people. And if you love coaching, don't feel like you have to follow that advice and get to absentee level ownership, right? But like those systems, like we're saying, that you're going to get to at that level are going to be way different than like I open with nothing, right? So that's kind of me painting this picture. It's like zero systems, some systems. Then you're going to eventually need to get really systemized when you want to go to multi-location. Then eventually I want to hire a general manager, and I'm going to be kind of semi-absentee, and then I'm going to be full absentee. They don't need me at all. Those systems will need to evolve as you climb up that ladder of involvement in the business. But I would say there's a few critical times that like you're really stress test if your systems show up or not. So I'm curious, I'll probably go last on this one. I want to hear your guys' answer first. So Jason, when do you feel like people's systems are stress test, that either they have them or they're kind of like messy? Like when are those moments in a gym owner's life that happens?
Yeah, I always equate it to the those proud parent moments because, as you know, I guess when you're running any business, especially when it comes down to the gym business, especially is with so many clients and so many personalities and so many life things that come at people. Like our business is completely different than anything else. I always took pride in knowing that when issues would come up, knowing that issues were solved, not only solved, but solved satisfactory to the client. Like when fires got put out without me knowing about it, those were the best moments. And so then I knew that that procedure was stress tested, it was followed, and the client's happy. There was no revenue loss, like everything was good. And I've had that before. Did our team meeting and we recap, and I find out that something happened Monday and Tuesday with the client, and the coach had to do this, and the admin sent him that, and I knew nothing about it. That was one of the best feelings, was knowing that I got these little firemen on staff, and they were putting out fires, they were handling things, and I didn't have to get involved. I think those were one of the best stress tests, and so that's what I would kind of tell any gym owner listening to this is, does every team member come to you for every situation right now? Then the business is 1,000 dependent on you to make every single decision. So a couple things happen with that. Number one is you've made it that way. You want to be in control of every single situation. Do you want to be like that? I doubt that you want every single problem come to you. So learn how to delegate and allow your team members to handle those certain situations. Maybe you give them a list of things they can handle on their own, or maybe you assign a dollar value to it, or whatever you want to. It's your business, but if it's under X amount of dollars, authorize your GM to give refunds or extend credits and things like that too. So eliminate every question that's going to come off your plate. So like I don't want a coach calling me and say, "Hey, so and so, and they need a 50% credit or something like that. They missed a couple weeks," and like that just can't be on my plate. Is authorize and empower your team to put out those fires too. So to me, I think that's a sign of strong systems within a gym, is we have a team that can handle those situations that come up. Take them off your plate. Let them be your firemen.
Yeah, and I think that's the important word to use there at the end, was empowered. A lot of gym owners, I find that their team is like operating with the emergency brake on, even though you're trying to push the gas pedal, because you have not given them permission. They don't know what they're allowed to do. So then they come to you and ask you for every decision. Like, "Hey, this client needs this. Hey, this coach was going to cover for this coach. Like, is that okay? Is that okay?" Because you just never told them, "I empower you to figure it out on your own. I empower you to run our system. I'm giving you permission here and now." That is important because they don't want to step on toes. They don't want to ruffle feathers. They want to like be good soldiers. So you got to empower them. You got to give them permission. You got to know, you got to give them those boundaries. You said up to this dollar amount, or these systems, this is what I would do if this problem comes up. And now go and you can figure it out. You don't need to tell me, right? Like basically, it's not having to put out all the day-to-day fires, that you feel little sense of calmness knowing that there are fires happening, but my team is empowered and they don't need me for every single one. And now we're a team of firefighters, not just me as the main guy, the captain, right? Putting out all the fires. Cam, how about for you? What are some times that you see system stress tests, whether in your own business or with gym owners, that you think is a way for them to see, do I have this system really dialed in or not?
Well, on what you guys were just talking about first with the team, because I think something really important to do is take a look at your team. How do you think about your team? How do you talk about your team? Because as you guys were talking, I'm going over some conversations that I've had with gym owners recently in my head, and I already know the problems that they're going to tell me by the way they're talking about their team. And we talk about our team. We love our team. We have faith in our team. We train up our team. But I've spoken to someone or two who have said to me, "Oh, my team's useless." Oof, man, that hurts. What do you mean your team is useless? They don't have to, yeah. You hired them, you trained them. This is your family. What do you mean they're useless? Oh, my team can't do that. Well, take a good hard look at yourself and how do you speak about your team? And if you are one of those owners that look and talk about your team like that, the problem starts with you. You have to change your mindset. And if you really feel like you hired the wrong team, then you got to fix it, right? Because everything good or bad in your business is your fault. So you have to fix that first. And then empower your team to do these things because otherwise your entire business is going to fall apart. So I just wanted to say that first because you got my wheels turning when
Yeah,
you
that's very
about
good point.
all of that stuff. And it does kind of go into the next point. Like I feel like a good stress point, a good stress test is when you're in a period of growth. So right now, as you guys know, my gym, we're going through a rebrand, and we're in a period of growth. We just ran some really awesome specials. We have a ton of new people in the gym, and nothing is going to stress out your team and your systems more than having a bunch of new people in your gym at the same time. Because either it's going to go really smooth and all the boxes are getting checked and all the people are getting greeted when they come in and they're getting the shout outs and the pictures after the sessions and they're getting scheduled for what we call our starting point program or 6 week. They're getting scheduled for their in bodies and those discussions, and it's just like a well-oiled machine, and you're reviewing it with your team and you're like, hey, we got these 20 people going down the list. Did this person, yep, did this person get this, yes, and it's going down. And that's because we have systems, right? Or we have our new client experience very well documented. We have our starting point program well documented. Everybody knows what's supposed to happen from the time that somebody walks through the door because we've gone over it. But if bringing in, a bunch of new people into your gym at once causes you stress, that's because you don't have your proper systems in place. And especially if you bring a bunch of new people in and it completely apart and it feels completely chaotic and your team is running around like, oh my God, this is the worst thing that ever happened, then start there. Then you have to document, all of that because if you can't handle the growth point, how is your business going to
Yeah.
grow and scale?
Yeah. I like that. You said if you can't handle the truth, you can't handle the growth, right? And so it's one of those things that, yeah, your system will be tested. Somebody asked me the other day, who would be a gym that shouldn't do marketing? And I said, usually a gym that's a one man show, because when you pile fires on top of their already loaded plate, they're gonna be overwhelmed. I mean, they go sick. Who runs the gym? Who runs the sessions, right? And now you sold all these new trials. You're running these ads. So I definitely agree with that. I think when owners are like getting these systems like documented, also don't be afraid to ask your team for help. I think that was one of the best exercises we did. Was we did these things called system sprints. So I had a coach that was really good at coaching. Like, can you document our coaching process? And then like I'll document our marketing process. And admin who does, past dues and collections, like you document that process. And man, all of us, if we can chip in, this will be such a bigger lift. So we regularly do these. We call them system sprints. And for 2 weeks, we either write new systems, or B, we go and edit old ones and we just refresh all of them if they need refreshing. And it's such an easier lift when you divide and conquer. And what you're bringing up, Kim, in your example, and we've brought up others as well, is reoccurring problems need reoccurring solutions. If problems that come up over and over again, to me, that sounds like hell. Like you're just going to deal with this over and over and over again for the rest of the time until a system gets introduced, and then you can finally step out of it and not live in that rat race, right? So Jason's point is like, you're going to get hit with a cancel. Okay, do I deal with it every time, or do I put a cancellation process? The team owns it, and now I'm out of that reoccurring problem, right? I've got myself out of it. That's why we're making a whole episode on this. Like, we don't want you guys to be on this Groundhog Day or never feel like you have any help. It does come down to your leadership. So I'm glad that you pointed that out, Kim, because like when you say your team's useless, well, what does that say about you? That you're keeping them. You're not holding the standard, not letting them go. You're not training them up. Like, it also speaks to you as a leader. No leader should say that about their team, right? All right. Well, as we wrap up, the easiest step that you could take for sure is to get ChatGPT writing some systems, ask your team to help with it, and to just start with the simplest, list that will make the biggest impact on your business, which we talked about: sales, coaching. The third one behind that might be your hiring and training manuals for new coaches, right? Like that's an important one too. But just start small. Do one this month, do another one next month. And before you know it, you'll have a whole, we call it a SOP library because we have so many. You'll have all your systems, your SOPs all documented. You'll be good to go. That would be your next best step, is take one critical process, like say sales process, and write it and use ChatGPT, have your team help you, and put it into a Google Drive. And then the next month, do it again. And the next month, do it again. It won't take long. You can do it in under a year, and you'll have all your critical systems documented. All right. Well, that is that. We'll let these guys get out of here. Appreciate you guys. If you liked the episode, subscribe, and we'll see you guys on the next show. Later. Gym owners, I don't want you to have the reputation in town as the gym that doesn't call people back. All right. We know it's critical when someone's finally made a decision to get healthy and fit that we get to them as quickly as possible. This can be solved by plugging in our remote sales reps. Okay. It's not AI. It's not a bot. It's a real human that's working on your leads, the new ones that come in from your ads and the old leads in your database. And they're there to qualify the leads, to ask them discovery questions, and to make sure they're a good fit. And then their job is to move them forward in your sales process so that you get more members month over month. All right. If you want to learn about our remote sales reps, go ahead and go to gymreinforcements.com, book a call, and we'll tell you more about it. See you then.